In the meanwhile, the scientists had collected and evaluated lots of informations. And as a result of their examinations, they concluded that it would be possible that the dream of the Queen could become reality. On the basis of their knowledge of the development of the last years, they presumed that the catastrophe could become true. Scientists from faraway countries had made reports in which they described how their peoples exploited the environment. They had talked about things the Paradisians never would do. They had reported about environmental pollution, about a rising CO2 level, about heavy metal legacies and radioactivity in the grounds and in the water. Stories about animals that were kept in mass stocks, overproduction, exploitation of the environment, the animals and the humans have been told. The Paradisian scientists have been listened to reports about social distress and economical inequity. The scientists concluded that the Queen had dreamed that the world will be destroyed and that the reasons for the destruction were made by humans. They concluded that the world just could be saved if all countries in the world would work together to fix the problem. For a long time they confer with each other. Then royal messengers were sent out into every country of the world to invite for a crisis conference. Months were going by. A master plan was developed. They could have started to save the world, but one messenger after the other were coming back to Paradise to report disappointedly that the sovereigns of every country they visited had said no. Not even one monarch was willing to listen to what the Queen and the King of Paradise had to say. The Paradise was a small country without having any contact to other countries. Since centuries the Paradisians lived secluded and happily. No one ever had left the country. For what reason anyone should have left Paradise if everything was perfect in here? So it was not very well known in the world that the Paradise even existed. Other people thought it was a legend. So it was understandable that the sovereigns of the other countries did not believe what the messengers from Paradise told them. The King and the Queen were conferring with each other disappointedly and desperately. Then the Queen decided to save her people even if she was not able to save the whole country. She gave order to build 3 swimming islands by the seaside, at which her people should dwell when the big flood would come. And she gave away the entire treasury for it. Every plant and a couple of every animal should live there when the time would be right. She ordered that the first island should have the shape of a lily, the second one should look like a violet, and the third one like a rose. Years were passing by. It took a long time to build the 3 giant islands. Lily, Violet and Rose, the 3 royal daughters, were growing up. Rose gave love to the world. She grew up to a young woman who was as beautiful as a rose herself. Everyone who saw her was touched by love, and she loved the world. When she was a child, she loved animals and plants. She was frolicking in nature, and she felt deeply touched by happiness when she was caressing dogs, cats and horses. As a grown-up, Rose loved warm-hearted people who were friendly. She became an extraordinarily talented artist. She was able to touch the people's hearts with her art. Violet, however, early discovered that she was able to understand the world. She eagered for knowledge. So no one was wondering that she decided to become a scientist. She loved her profession, and the more she increased her knowledge, the happier she became. Violet gave her knowledge and her lust to learn to the world. Lily, the firstborn child, was able to lead. One glaze was enough, and the people obeyed. It was said that she was a natural leading authority. Her parents decided that she would be the one who would follow them at the throne one day. Lily should become the next queen. She gave the world her ability to act. All three sisters were children of their time. They grew up being afraid of the dangerous flood that should come sooner or later. They were insecure if it would help what their parents did to rescue themselves and the people of paradise. And they had doubts if the catastrophe really would come one day. They grew up at the large building site where the swimming islands were built for almost 20 years. In the end, when the islands were finished and the storms and the floods didn't end up, the king and the queen started to evacuate their people to the flower islands. Rose mentioned how the people left their loved homes crying desperately. She was compassionate with them. She said that it was not good to separate the people from what they love. Violet was listening carefully to what her sister had to tell, and she said that Rose was right. She said that it would be necessary to learn what the people need to feel loved. And if that means that they need the environment they used to live in, the mountains, the meadows and fields, the hills, the forests, the desert and the ocean, then it would be helpful to give it to them. After Lily had listened to what Violet had told, she started to act immediately. She gave order to build a fourth island, which was big enough to reconstruct every landscape that belonged to paradise, to replace the loss the people felt, and to give the animals and plants their natural environment. This should have been Lily's first legal act as the new queen. Already in the first week, the Paradisians have been resettled to the flower islands. She was enthroned in a large ceremony. The Queen Mother gave the crown to her daughter, talking about her as the first light she had seen in her dreams, the light that would enlighten the darkness to bring hope for a better future to the people. She wished that Lily's light would lead the people out of these dark times, that Violet's light would spread out knowledge and wisdom, and that Rose's light would give love. Lily kept her promise. She let build the Paradise Island. She gave away her entire heirship for it. Animals and plants were settled down on Paradise Island.